So I finally drawn an M peg at Barbie Banks, peg 103. Let's find out how I got on. Draw's done, and I finally drawn what I consider a proper M peg. 103. Now this is a peg that does a lot of winning. This is a gentle breeze pushing down here. Bit of a miserable day, but can't complain. Looks really nice. Thumbs up nice, it's really simple. I'm just going down the 6mm pellet route again, I haven't got anything else with me. Looks great. I've set up a 0.3 Diablo for a cross with like little spread of nines. A 0.3 for a little bit shallow water that I can get in 30 inches and I can get in like 18 inches across. Bit steep, but beggars can't be choosing. Then down the edge it's lovely, just the same. Them rigs just do the edge as well. And I've got this little tree just down here, right off where my keep nets will be. Top kit and short free. I reckon that'll be a lovely little line, just trickle a few sixes in throughout the day. Yeah, and then either side of the margins. I've set a track rig up because we had really heavy rain last night. I was actually fishing on the river until 11:30 last night, and it was chucking it down all night, and that sometimes puts the dampeners on things, literally, and so it could be a slow start here today. But great turnout, over 20 here today, which is brilliant for a midweek open in these areas. This area, you know, you don't get many midweek opens with 20 odd on, so it's good. Yeah, hopefully we can do the damage. Like I say, just keeping things really simple. 6mm pellets, simple rigs, 4 rigs. That's all I've got set up. A trap rig, that top kit and short 4 rig, and then 2 for a cross. Not put any shallow rigs up or anything like that. I'm just going to be really disciplined, patient, and hopefully we can get the job done. So I'll just quickly run you through the rigs and stuff that we'll be using at Barbie Banks. As you can see, I'm not a mega preparer. I don't believe in having loads and loads of stock of rigs or anything in my box, because I just feel like by the time I come to use them, the line's kinked or potentially damaged or whatever. I just prefer to tie small batches of rigs based on what I'm doing, and I just carry like this little selection. Yes, I haven't got endless options if the conditions change, but I always feel like I've got what I need rather than having too much, if that makes sense. And hopefully that's quite relatable, because I think sometimes you look at these professionals tackle and they've got boxes and boxes of rigs, and for me it's just not really needed. So I've got some clunks, probably a few too many clunks to be fair, but there's enough there just to cover me. I use them if for like a bit of mugging. There's an odd wide swim where maybe swinging a rig across might come into it. I've got some little 4x10 big heads. I absolutely love these for fishing shallow right under the grass on the far bank. That can be a really good approach at Barbie. And then most of my approach is based around these little beauties, the Diablos. I absolutely love these for sort of island far bank fishing, and I've got them in 0.3, 0.4 and 0.5, and I use them for a few different reasons. I've got a few tied up because they're all a little bit different. Some are set up with bulks, like a tight bulk like that one. So if I wanted to maybe fish like expanders or maggots or something in the margins, I've got a few options there as like a mudliney type float. But to be honest, the bulk of my fish get caught, let me just untangle it, on a little rig like this. So we've got a 0.3 Diablo, and then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 number 9s and a little number 10 trimmer, and then I'll have a 6-inch B911 on that. And that is what I catch most of my fish on at Barbie, just a little strung out rig. It's positive though, because they're 9s, so obviously it gets the bait down, but it fishes well on slopes, and sometimes we've got a lot of slopes. I've got a few collets just tied up just for fishing short, and that's it. Nice little selection of rigs. I'll probably just set up a couple. One more thing, I just did a few hooks, and my hook process is quite simple, but there's a few little things that speeds it up. Now, firstly, when it comes to measuring my hook lengths, obviously you like to measure them out. Some are 6-inch, some are 3-inch, some are 4-inch, etc. I find it quite fiddly to keep using my hook length box. What I like to do it all in a batch and then transfer them into my hook length box. And I don't actually like, if I can help it, using these little measures on the box. They're great, they're fantastic, but I find them a bit fiddly.
having to pick the box up all the time. So when I'm actually doing a little hook tying session, like I've just done, I've just finished, I actually like to use this ringer's like measuring device. Now it's something that I've actually broke, unfortunately, but I've had it for years and I'm not even sure if they're still available or what, but I love them. And as you can see, it's got all the measures. It's got them in odd and even as well, so it's really good. Normally there's a pin at this end, but anyway, for the purpose of this, I tie in my hook lengths today at 6 inch, so obviously I can go around the 12 and then round to the 6, and I can just do a load at once without ever having to pick that up off the desk. I don't have to keep picking my hook length box up. I just find it a bit easier. Hooks I'm using are 16 B911s, and I'm tying them at the moment at 014. I'm just using our micro latex bands. And what I do, like I say, I like to do them in a batch. So I'll tie a few hook lengths up, and as I'm doing it, I have this little magnetic strip that I've like fastened to my desk here. And as I'm tying them, I stick them on there with the loops and everything on there. And I stick them on there, and then once they're all tied, all 10 or a packet or however many I'm doing, I then put them in my hook length box. So I tie them, stick them on my magnetic strip, then I transfer them all in one lot into my hook length box. And I just find that whole process speeds me up. I can concentrate on one job at a time instead of tying hook length, picking my hook length box up, putting it on the pegs, putting that back down. I'm constantly just doing the same thing, and then at the end I can transfer them on into the hook length box. Tiny little detail, but just something I think makes a big difference for me when I'm tying hook lengths.
Quick look at my peg force now. This is 103. It's quite a steep far bank, but we've got this bit of cover. There's a lovely margin in between them two trees. Nice margin here to me right, and obviously it's an end peg, so that's the end of the lake there. So I've got a bit of water here with, and then the wind's kind of blowing in, so probably start over there, see what happens, and then work my peg from there, but fancying probably catching down there later on.
The match kicked off and I went straight across to the island in that 30 inches of depth. Literally all I put in was 4 6mm pellets and just sat and waited for my first bite. Now, it was really good straight away. Sometimes Barbie can be a bit of a slow start. We actually start at 9:30 in the morning, which sometimes is a little bit early, is the honest truth. Matches normally start at 10:30. So you can sometimes get off to a slow first hour, but actually I got a bite first chuck, and the fishing was actually pretty good for the first little spell. Now the fish weren't very big, they were sort of £2 to £3, but I was happy, I was getting bites. And obviously last time I won, now the last match that I fished in the venue I won with £114. So I was actually pretty happy with how things were going. I didn't see the need to change anything. I was just basically using that 0.3 Diablo, just putting in 4 pellets, that was it, no more. If I fed any more, I seemed to miss bites or foul up fish. The key is to find a number of pellets that you're putting in the pot that gets you the clean bite, and this time it was 4. Sometimes I fed as little as 2, sometimes you have to put a few more in. I think just because you're feeding a big bait like 6 mils, sometimes people go down a negative route, and obviously negative was right on this particular session, but don't be frightened to put like 30 in one go because they eat them. So it's just about finding what gets you that clean bite on the day. And what Now I just want to take a moment of your time to ask you to subscribe to my channel. Now I'm one of the few anglers now that keeps their content entirely free, and I think it's not a lot to ask for you to just press that subscribe button, hit the bell notification, then you'll never miss another video. We get loads of great comments, we get loads of good videos on here for you, and it's totally free. So if you could do me a favour, press that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I greatly appreciate it. Now, as I mentioned, Barbie's quite a slow start, but what tends to happen is it's like a bit of a snowball going down a hill. It starts off slow and it just goes down and gets stronger and stronger as the day goes on. You just feel like you're getting more and more fish in your swim all the time. And that's what was happening. And I was catching really steady on this 30-inch line. Like, I was more than happy with how the catch rate was going, but it was starting to get a bit messy. The fish were coming in. No matter whether I fed more or less, I was getting a few missed bites. Normally what happens is a telltale sign. Your float will almost tilt a little bit when you feed your pellets. Like it'll tilt, go to the side, or tilt and you miss a bite, or you just get a total air shot, like a positive bite and there's nothing there. Now, sometimes that just means that they want to be in shallower water. Now, we'd had a load of rain the night before, and I mean an absolute bucket load of rain the night before, and it stands to reason that cold water set goes to the bottom, allegedly. So I felt, well, maybe the fish want to be in shallower water, so I picked up that other rig that was in about 18 inches of depth and went across. And I caught nice and steady again. Being a bit more patient, there was a lot less indications over there. It was like classic mudline, really. And interestingly, normally when I mudline fish or fish in shallow water, I'd normally pick something like micros and expanders or ground bait and maggots, but obviously I only brought 6mm pellets. And it was really good. It opened my eyes, made me thinking, well, why have I not done this before? Like, normally I just instantly find that depth and think, oh, I need a small particles to get them up there. But the hard pellets was really good, and it was dead easy to fish. Again, that 4 pellets seemed to be the golden number. A 0.3 was fishing really nicely. Now, just as before, the more I fed it, the stronger the swim got, and more fish were coming in, and it's starting to get a bit tricky to catch. So what I did, I actually got off my box and put a heavier float on, a 0.5. I felt like the 0.3 was moving around a little bit too much. There's like a very short bite window when you're mudline fishing. Normally you tap your pellets in and you get your bite within the first 15 to 20 seconds. And what was happening, I was missing that, and I was putting them in, my pellets in, and then the float would move to the side. Just didn't feel like I had the stability, so I actually got a 0.5 Diablo out of my box, used a heavy float for that depth of water, and put it on with a much shorter hook length, a little 3-inch hook length, and again just a 16B 911 with a band on it, and it worked a treat. So as the fishing was getting better and better, obviously that brings into it starting to feed the margins. Now, all I do with the margins, nothing complicated. I literally just start feeding them by hand, just literally pinches of pellets as and when I feel like needing to do it. I'm working on the principle of being in the margins when the fish want to come in, rather than using lots of bait to pull them in.
and it just seems to work a treat. I've been trickling pellets on the bush, and I was catching an odd fish on that already. And actually, it was a great place. Whenever it got a bit hectic across, by that I meant I felt like the fish were getting a bit on edge, or maybe I was missing a few bites, foul looking an odd fish, I just dropped short, and it just gave the fish chance to eat the bait that was across. And I think that that's a big point. If you get any sort of accumulation of bait across, it can make things difficult. And sometimes just leaving it alone without any baiting for 10 minutes, 15 minutes can be just as good as changing your feeding pattern. So I had this short line that I could just drop on every now and again and catch a few fish. Now it was a case where there was obviously loads of fish in the peg, and I thought I'm going to try and catch them in the edge. And I went down the edge and I caught a few straight away. Now the right hand edge was no cover. It looked the worst of the two edges in regards to cover, but it's the one I fancied the most because it was away from the bank. The same 30-inch depth to my left was tight against the bank. Now I've spoke about fishing tight against the bank loads of times, but for some, like I said before, for some reason on this venue, I like to fish off the bank. It seems to be a much cleaner way to fish. And now basically what I was doing is just a little stringer shot. I'd feed my 5 or 6 pellets, lay my rig in, and I was catching really well. That edge was coming to life, and then it was just a case of rotating my swims,
my 4 different spots, taking a couple of fish, going back across, taking a couple of fish, coming short, taking a couple of fish, going to my left, taking a couple of fish. That was what the process was.
Who's bagging, Martin? Oh really?
Now, what was really nice about this day, I was drawn right next to the car park. Now, my father-in-law, Ian, is a keen angler, and he's getting more and more keen. He's going fishing all the time. It's great to see. And he's never seen the match side of things. Not that I think he's interested in match fishing, but I just thought he might be interested in seeing what it's like and what the actual process is. So I quickly sent him a message saying, look, I'm right in the car park. Perfect day to come and see. And I'd set him a brolly up and everything. So he came down, and it was great because he saw me catching loads of fish. At this point, I'm fishing down either edge, and that's shore. I'd pretty much abandoned the cross now. The fishing down the margins was so good, and then short, and it was just a case of then making it happen. Now, the short line was really interesting. It's the best I've ever had it on this venue, and I think the cover of that tree really helped. Basically, I'd lay my rig in, hold the rig out of the water by 6 inch, drop it down, feed 3 pellets on the float, give it 15 seconds. If I didn't have a bite, lift and drop, 3 more pellets, so regular feeding, and I was just absolutely bagging on that short pole. It was great fishing, and combining that with my right hand edge, I pretty much abandoned my left hand edge at this point now. It was a little bit awkward because of the trees, like every now and again you felt like one was going to do you in the trees, and I thought the right hand edge was so good that I could just cleanly fish that one, no problem, and then the little bush in front of me was perfect. So I just sort of rotated those two then till the end, and it was just absolutely unbelievable. And it's easy. Now, come the weigh in, we walked around. Obviously, I wanted Ian to see like the weighing in process and all that, so we walked right around the whole lake, and 114 pounders best. And it was actually a really good match up until they got to me. Now, I think there was a great chance that I was on a massive, massive, massive percentage of the fish. I think a lot that wind had pushed a massive percentage of the fish down to my peg. Obviously, I've done well to like capitalise on that, but yeah, I was on an absolute flyer on the day. There's no two questions about that. And I ended up with £225. Now, I had a slight net infringement. With 20 minutes to go, I actually said to him, I said, I think I need a 5th net here. I actually clicked £50 in each one. And in hindsight, I must have been a little bit out. I was pretty good on all of them, but my middle net, for some reason, it had a bit more in it. So I got docked on that one. So I actually weighed £225, which is a brilliant day's fishing. Like I say, second was £114. And it was just a total red letter day. It was one of those days where I haven't had a day like that at Barry. I've caught a lot of fish there in the past, but I've never had it like that. Just smooth sailing. Never had any issues really, apart from getting stuck in a tree. The fish were relatively easy to catch. It was just one of those days where they were just eating and they were in front of me, and I was just the lucky angler to be on that pile of fish. And it was obviously great to have Ian come and see it as well, because he's dead excited to see obviously the side of fishing that we do. So thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the next video.